In my last video, I just did an unboxing review of Scandal the board game. And I forgot to actually show y'all the board in it. So, I'm doing a second video, a part 2 video, and showing you the board. Here's where you put the Objective B 613 cards. Here's where you put the identity cards, I guess of the people not playing. That's where you put these trivia spaces are where you do the various trivia cards. And of course you have locations. You have the Pentagon, you have Washington Monument, you have the Lincoln Memorial, which you have to find evidence and dispose of said evidence and meet people and whatnot at these locations. The Jefferson Memorial, B613, the Smithsonian, the Supreme Court, the U.S. Capitol, OPA, and the Washington National Cathedral, the Union Station, and of course the White House, which is also the start space. You have a park here that you can walk through. You have the streets that you walk, I suppose, through. Realistically, you would probably be driving a car, because these places well, you might be walking, you might be driving a car. I'm not sure about these locations, if they're as close together as they are on this board in real life. I have never really seen the show, so I don't know. Possibly. They possibly are. So that's the board to Scandal the game. And here are all the pieces. And here are the objective cards, which I'll show you. Objective and character cards, I'll show you. Here are the characters. You got Olivia Pope as a character, Quinn Perkins as a character, Jake Ballard as a character, David Rosen as a character, Fitzgerald Grant as a character, Hook as a character, Melanie Grant as a character, Cyrus Bean as a character, Abby Whalen as a character, and each character has basically three or four objectives they have to complete. 4 objectives, really. So you get to play as one of the 9 characters, and you're given one of the 9 objective cards. So here are each player has his own pawn piece. Then you have these witness pieces, which are in, I guess there's at least one in every location. Then we have the burn phones, the witnesses that you collect, the evidence that you collect, the intel that you collect, and all this evidence and intel that you collect, they're in various locations of the board, and you have to collect them and then dispose of them. So you collect them in one area of the board, and then you dispose of them in another area of the board, including witnesses. So I think you collect witnesses and dispose of them. And these are various witnesses that are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 6. There's 8 witnesses. So while there's 9 players, 8 witnesses, each person, I suppose, has to talk to a witness. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 11, 12. There's 12 locations, so I guess there's not a witness everywhere. You'd have to see the rules of the setup to know how that works. Okay, here's the Scandal rules. What's in it? It says it's for 3 to 8 players. Suppose there could be 9 if they had one more stand, we make one more witness guy and one more objective card. Object B, first place, says to complete all 4 of your objectives. Setup. Place the game board between all players, shuffle all trivia cards, and place face down in a pile from reach of all players. Place the OPA and B16 card decks on their appropriate spots on the game board. Place 1 element tile each onto any 8 location spaces, except OPA, B16, Olivia's apartment, or the White House. So those spaces don't have a people wall. Don't have those little 8 objective things. 5. All players choose an anonymous player token and places it on start. 6. Youngest player starts the game. Gameplay continues to the left. 7 players may exit start area from any side. Here, I guess. How to play. Each player starts the game without an identity or an objective. All players' first objective is to make their way to either of the following locations on the game board: the B16, 13, and the OPA office. Okay, so at first you play as that mystery witness token that I showed you until you get to either B16 or the OPA office. Okay, so you just move until you get to here, OPA office, or here, B613's office. Okay? Focus, stupid. Now, on your turn, you will choose to roll the dice or use the transit option. You do not have to roll the exact number to land on a location space. Trivia cards. If you land on a trivia space, the player to your left draws a trivia card and you read it. If you answer correctly, you win the card. And there are directions on the bottom of each card. Directives must be completed immediately. Go to, jump to B16, jump to start, jump to Liz's apartment, go to OPA. The transit options include metro fare and taxi fares. You may hold onto these cards, and the option is listed on the bottom of the trivia card, and use it in a subsequent turn. If you answer incorrectly, you do not win the card. Transit. Use your transit options to get closer to your objectives quickly. If you choose not to roll the dice, you may use a transit option. Listed on the bottom of your trivia card, you must announce publicly if you are using a transit option to other players and then surrender the card to the bottom of the deck. The metro. You cannot use the metro spaces without a metro card. When you use the metro space, you may transfer between any 2 stations on the map. Okay, this is the metro button here. This button right here, if you land on this space, it looks like an M, it's a button, it's the metro button space. You can use it to go from, you can use the metro card to go from any metro button space to another metro button space. Taxi. You must announce publicly if you're using a transit option to other players and then surrender the card to the bottom of the trivia deck. Taxi fares can be used from any spot on the map to any other spot on the map, I guess. Maximum 2 transit cards per player. So you can only have 2 at a time. Now we have the OPA and the B613 spaces. When players reach the OPA, you must draw an identity card. This is your new identity. Switch the anonymous figure from its holder and place the new identity in its place. Keep your identity card face up so other players are aware of your final objective. Hold onto your anonymous figure. You will need it later. When you reach B613, draw an objective card. These are the objectives you must complete in the game. Keep this card secret. After you have secured your character's identity and objectives, you must complete all 4 objectives to win the game. The 3 on your objective cards and the final objective on your identity card. Element tiles and leaving a trace. Objectives consist of obtaining and disposing of the following items: intel, burn photos, evidence, and witness testimonies. If an objective requires an action without an item, players must use their anonymous figure. You got evidence, intel, burn phones, witness testimonies, and non-spheres. Crossing paths and confrontation. Watch out, if a player lands on the same space as another player, the two players must confront each other in a trivia showdown. If a player passes over another player on the same path, that player has the choice to confront another player or not. Confrontation. A third player will draw a card and read it aloud. The first player to answer correctly wins. The winner of the confrontation wins the card and any items the loser is holding. The loser must move back to start on the game board. Additional rules. Crossing the park. There are two paths that cross the park, a tunnel and a pathway. If you land on an aerospace, move to the corresponding aerospace across the park and continue your move. Crossing counts as one space. Winning game. Be the first player to successfully complete all 4 of your objectives. So there's the park. Her apartment is in the park. But this is what it's talking about. You go from here to there, or you go from here to there. And it's one space. You don't have to go 1, 2, 3. Or 1, 2, 3. You should, but you don't have to. So that's the park. Then you got start. First you're at start. Then you got to move to OPA. Find out who your player is. And you got to move to B613. Find out what your objectives are. Or the other way around. No, yeah. Then you go around the board, collecting and fulfilling your 4 objectives. And once you collect and fulfill all 4 objectives, you go back to start and win the game. That's simple. It's actually a fairly simple game to play. Scandal. The only hard part is doing the trivia parts. And if you never watched this show, Scandal, you probably don't know how to answer any of the daggum questions. Because all the questions are going to be related to the TV show. Which I've never watched, so I guess you could still play it with what's known as guessing. I mean, since I looked at all the trivia questions, they all have only 4 answers. So you got a 25% chance of getting it right every time a trivia question pops up. So I guess you can always guess if you've never watched the show. Remember, God's good all the time. All the time God is good. Jesus loves you. Keep on gaming. Like, comment, subscribe, and share. And don't have any scandals, guys. I'm sorry I had to do 2 videos of this, but I forgot to do the board part. And I guess the second video is also more of a tutorial too, because I read you the rules and told you basically how to play the game. So have a great day, everybody.